I wrote religiously, and that is why this book, Romeo, Juliet, and Hitler, could happen.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. So you're saying you didn't have the entire story mapped out before you were writing? You were just making it up on the go? Is that right?
When you're writing your first book, you don't know if it would find a single reader on this planet, right? Even I'm trying to figure it out.
That's why you're a guest on this podcast, because you're not an expert yet.
That confidence put me on the stage, and then the first open mic that happened, it was like a bomb.
I know it's way trickier in comedy because humor by definition is so subjective. What was holding you back? Was the quality of your jokes, or was it your delivery, or combination of both those things?
Open mics will require investment from your side.
It's supposed to be my book. Why am I being asked to edit it 10 times?
Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we learn from journeys of not experts who are just 2 steps ahead of us.
I'm Naman Pandey, and in this episode, featured not expert is Rohan Gautam. Rohan is the author of the book Romeo, Juliet, and Hitler, an up-and-coming stand-up comic, and is also about to drop his first venture into the exciting world of writing non-fiction. We discuss how Rohan wrote his first book, an output that consisted of over 55,000 words. And he takes us through his rather interesting approach to writing, which really is just an intense bias to action that got him there. I should note that it is a privilege and an honor for me to find a guest that embodies everything that the Ready Set Do podcast stands for. We then go over Rohan's foray into the nerve-wracking world of stand-up comedy, what to expect at your first open mic, how to improve writing jokes, and conclude with Rohan sharing his insights on editing, publishing, and honestly everything you need to know to drop your first book. For a more detailed how-to on writing non-fiction, I recommend my episode with Saundarya, which I will link in the description below. In keeping with that theme of learning from somebody that's just 2 steps ahead of us instead of an expert, my goal with this episode is to highlight Rohan's relentless throughput across various arts, be it writing or telling jokes. This is the Ready Set Do podcast, and to support it, subscribe on YouTube and leave me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. You can also check out the links in description for more ways to support me. If you have watched an episode on this channel before, you will notice that this maybe looks different. And it's because this is my first time recording on an actual camera that I got for this purpose exactly. So really excited to kick off this new era. But for now, without any further ado, my friends, here's Rohan.
Rohan, welcome.
Hi, Naman, thank you so much for having me here.
So excited to pick your brain around writing specifically, but also some other domains that we're going to delve into, such as stand-up comedy. And obviously, all of that will be inspected through the common lens of writing itself. So maybe let's start there. What can you tell us about writing nonfiction? And by that, I'm mostly referring to your book, Romeo, Juliet, and Hitler, which I actually looked up just a few minutes before this call. Very interesting premise. So curious to know kind of your journey around what made you think of the idea and what made you sit down and write. And also how many pages is it? How long is it?
Great. So, Naman, I think the latest one, I have a copy in my hand, right? So this is, of course, a sample copy, although, but again, this is a non-fiction, and to write a non-fiction, I think it's because especially if you have started your writing career or writing hobby, whatever you call it, I think if it was a fiction piece of work, and then you choose to delve into non-fiction, it's like a world of difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but then I think when I thought of writing, of course, like I had once, maybe I told you that, those were the days. Even in India, there were readers who would love to read about, some love stories or those kind of, uh, you know, uh,
Mhm.
light form of reading, right? But then again, I mean, as a writer, I was not convinced about what I was doing. Although people like the people whosoever read it, gave it a shot. I think they enjoyed it. They had their laughter right, I would say, and they appreciated it. But again, I think I could do something more in terms of a meaningful product, right? That
Mhm.
people can benefit out of, in a more sensible manner, right? So I think that I mean, and see, I think it all starts with reading. And I don't think, I mean, I haven't followed the journey of Shakespeare or these guys, but I feel that yes, it all starts with reading. At least guys like us, when we read, we connect. We see that there's a world that exists, which is far more valuable and relatable than visuals can ever make an impact in our lives. So I think that's how this book happened. We all are fucking idiots, right? with greatness hidden inside. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. So we will be actually, yeah, I had a separate section planned for your latest book. But
Great.
just to start off this first segment, I was hoping we could focus just on the, nonfiction, the Romeo Juliet Hitler. So my question around that is, what was your process around writing that? So did you have the major, points of the story written down in just in terms of bullet points, and then you wrote chapters around that? Or did you follow a different approach? So if I have a story in my mind right now, what is my best shot at, or what process can I follow that you can recommend of turning that into, chapters of a book?
I think yes. I think specifically talking about Romeo, Juliet, and Hitler, I followed a lame approach because I didn't know what was the right way.
Makes
I
sense.
wrote some 50 pages, and then I was like, man, I don't think I'm moving in the right direction. Maybe this is like going haywire, right? And so, I literally junked 30, 40, 50 pages, and I would rewrite because at the end of the day, I mean, you need to have that bird's eye on the overall story
Exactly.
called plot. So yes, that was the first, I would say uneventful journey of writing a book, because you don't know how you do it. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should have heard some writers how they did it so easily. But again, I was like, I just want to write and let's get started. So I just
Yep.
started off, yeah, keeping less ideas. But then yes, practically when I did it, then I followed, like I said, I followed a simple strategy.
Mhm.
And like I said, that yes, the book had about 55,000 words, 200 plus pages.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
200 plus pages. So
Huh.
just, I mean, and now if I have to write a book like the second one, then because I had gained the experience of writing the first book, so I knew how I would go about it. you know so like you mentioned that yes, I need to have a skeleton ready, and then I'm putting in the body parts, or the skin, or everything, whatever comes
Yeah.
in a human body. So I think yes, that is the way. But the first one was like just just moving. Yes,
That's
pretty much.
so interesting to me that your first, first venture, we can say, turned out with an output of, as you said, 55,000 words. That seems like a lot to me. Were you ever overwhelmed at any point and were like, this is maybe too bloated? I should probably cut it down and, right size it a little bit more? Or were you always like, I don't care how long it is. This is my story. I want to tell it and I'm going to do that.
Well, yes, I think the fact that the fact that I had read some fictional books similar to what I was writing. So I knew that a standard book, should have at least 40,000 or 50,000, a certain count to be able
Mhm.
to, turn into a book. So I knew that, yes, it would somewhere, it should hit at least 50,000 words.
Yes.
And, when I was writing, yes, I could see that, yes, content was flowing, and, I was enjoying. So yes, that's how I kept going, and it took some time, like I would say a year or more maybe. I think a year or half. But yes, overwhelming. It was overwhelming, no doubt about it. It was tormenting, rather, I would say, right? Because I mean, because when you're writing your first book, you don't know, if it would find a single reader on this planet, right?
True.
Yeah, because we live in a world where it's a fast-paced world, right? We all on a fast lane, right?
Mm.
So I mean, even your family at times, they just want to go for a movie, than sit with a book, and watch pages, keep at pages. So it's like that. But I'm happy that people read it. I heard positive comments, and so
Amazing. And then, so just being somebody that's, I'll just say, has batted around the idea of writing stories, so nonfiction myself, it seems to me that a path, it's not the best path, but one of the many ways to do that would maybe be by writing short stories first. So, because I just have a lot of ideas around that, they're easier to write. You don't need to have 50,000 words on a short story, although some can, of course, have those many. Would you say that for maybe any of our listeners that feel really daunted by your approach? I actually still don't even know how you did that. Man, kudos to you. Would you recommend maybe it makes sense to start small, maybe just with short stories, and then gradually graduate up to a bigger novel or, a longer story? What's your
Yeah,
take on that, I guess?
I think yes, absolutely. I think if you want to, because it all boils down to a neat approach. Okay, that of course you will eventually gain what is the right way to do it. That after writing the first one, yes, I knew that now this is how it is. But yes, I think if somebody who's beginning to write something, I think the best way is to write crisp, or because
Mhm.
see, I think more than that, it is important to have a love for writing, because I think that is the hard part. I mean, we end up losing interest. I've heard a lot of people say to me that oh, I also wanted, I had a story. I think we all have stories, our own stories, but somewhere it's maybe it's not the love for writing. Maybe it's not that intense that we end up writing half a book or 50 pages, and then so I think yeah, writing short stories can definitely help, because how to start. I remember writing the first book. I'll just share with you that I had written the entire I would say 45,000, and then I had to move towards the closing, and I don't know how to close the book, right? What to do. So a lot of readers, they felt that there would be a sequel to the book. Okay.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. So you're saying you didn't have the entire story mapped out before you were writing? You were just making it up on the go? Is that
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
okay?
I think on this podcast, it is going to be the heights of modesty, coming into the show. All right. So yes, I mean, I didn't know what I would do with the ending, because all that ends well goes well, right? And we are Indians, and we have this mindset that happy endings work, and people want to read. I was not prepared, So yes, a lot of readers, they were like they wanted more, right? So it happens that when something has ended abruptly, you are not sure, okay, what it is. They feel that, oh, there has to be something more, right? So I admitted on this podcast that yes, somehow I ended the book, because maybe by the time it ended, I would say exasperated in my head,
Which
because I
makes
want to just
sense.
yeah, I
After
want
1,000 words is not a mean feat.
yes, yes. So I think for any individual, writing the first one, I think yes. So, but the right way is yes, to have a map of what you're writing. Yeah, it should be pre-planned. The more you pre-plan, the lesser you will see that things go in vain. Okay, I think that will help for sure.
On that same note, I don't know if you'd agree, but it sounds to me like there's almost that trade off. So, this is a pit that I've fallen into in the past where I'll spend so much time with the whole planning process and trying to micromanage every little detail that I can never actually get to the writing part. What you did, I think, to your credit, is even though you didn't really know, exactly how it would end, you at least kept making progress and kept going. So, I do think your approach has its merits. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think it maybe just depends on each person how they work, and it clearly this approach worked for you. So I think you're being too modest when you say that it wasn't the best approach, because think about it. Would you agree? Like at least it's something, right? You're putting words onto paper.
Yes, I mean, yes, no doubt about it. At least, I mean, at times I have learned over years that you should give yourself a pat time and again. Okay, if others are not doing it, right? So, yes, I was bitten by the bug. Okay, that kept me, onto it. That right, right. Okay, so I wrote religiously, and I mean, and that is why I mean, this book, the Romeo, Juliet, and Hitler, could happen. And of
Mm.
course, at the end of the day, it's about writing. So if you're writing, you'll find your way. Okay, so you need to write, and that's I think probably the best advice that can be for anyone.
Amazing. And then did you have so yeah, just kind of quickly want to touch on that last thing that you just
Mm,
shared, which is, making continual progress,
mm.
putting, sitting down, having an hour or two chalked off every single day to make progress on whatever it is that you wanted to make progress on. What was your approach towards that? Did you just time block that, like 7 a.m. to which wherever 9 a.m. I'm going to sit and write no matter what? Or was it more ad hoc for you? I guess my question to boil it down is how can I ensure that I make progress every day? What systems or tools or protocols can I use for that?
Yeah, I think. See, I'll be very again. I'll be very honest with you that I am somebody initially when I write it when I started writing, I would simply use a pen and a paper approach. Okay,
Oh wow.
not even a laptop. That was because 5 6 years back, and then So I mean, it started with pure traditionalism. Okay, uh,
Huh.
keeping that approach, but then again, and in terms of blocking a time, yeah, it makes sense. But again, we all have different circumstances. This might come as a as something which will give you indigestion. Okay, that I had my CA finals, and we know that CA exams, CA finals, Indian CA
Yes,
has
it's
its own,
brutal.
yeah, it's vastness. So, I mean, I I had one elephant of like dealing with the exam preparation,
Right.
and then I had chosen to write a book because I thought I had a story or something. So I think that was my you know I would say situation back then. Different people may have their own liabilities, their own commitments. Okay, so it makes sense. Yes, I think we need to but again, I think for anyone to successfully complete a book, it is important that we are devoting time to it, to writing,
Yeah.
to the writing process. Yeah. So I think it depends on us how we are able to take out time or spare time, okay, from our busy routine. But that's the most important part. Yes.
Absolutely. And it really puts things into perspective where you already had so much going on, but it really does sound like you were driven by the sheer love for writing. You must really enjoy it because I don't see how anyone can otherwise, go ahead and do that at that time where you're dealing with, such a big exam and have, it's just so much cognitively overloaded to study as it is. Then to write on top of that is just adding on to that already existing cognitive overload. So
Right.
yeah, I mean that is giving me the indigestion. You were right about that. Very cool. Jumping on to the next segment here, I wanted to touch on your experience with stand-up comedy, and I know in some ways that is still related to writing because I'm sure maybe at least some of your stand-up comedy experience must come from pre-written bits or jokes, or I don't know what you say it in the industry, what you call it. But can you walk us through, I guess, maybe start with your kind of, your experience so far and how you got into it and what's your, way of going about things in this sphere?
Yeah. So I think yes, stand-up comedy. I would say that it definitely a different ball game, right? I mean, yes, there are a lot of novelists, writers who are into stand-up comedy, but but if I say that yes, has it got a connection? Has it got that nexus? Making the two relatable. I think there is, of course, the common thing, the common node, I would say, between writing a book or, being a writer and then stand-up comedy is that uh, they require writing. You need to have some material written with you so that you can go out there and, get your readers or get your listeners. Okay. So, yes, I think I thought that, yes, maybe, I should give it a shot because I can write having I have spent a good chunk of time writing a lot of things. So I had this in my mind that if it is a format of writing, regardless of what format it is, but if it is about writing, I can write. Okay, if it is humor or anything, so that confidence put me on the stage. Okay, and then the first open mic that happened, it was like a bomb. That's what we know, right? A common terminology wherein comics are going out there and they're confident that yes, they have the laughter material, and they are fully packed with jokes, and but then when they start delivering it, they realize that, oh my god, okay, it's just not landing. Right? So that's yeah. So that was the first open mic experience. Okay. So I mean, a lot of and I think a lot of comedians, they say it every now and then you don't have to take it very seriously, your first open mic experience or initial 10, 15, 20 open mic experiences. So
Okay.
I think, yeah, slowly and gradually, I could sort of recon that, what nuances, that I need to touch upon and make different, make it different from a novel writing. So yeah, I think now, yes, I can feel that, yes, comedy, when we write jokes, they are crisp. You cannot stretch or create a foam out of it. No, of course, you need to make it very laughter specific, right? And sometimes it makes sense, but mostly they don't make sense, right? Yes, so that's the moral of the story. Yes. So I think, yes, I mean, this has been bit of learning,
Mm.
right?
There's with most things. Yeah, I think it would need, like a generational talent to show up on an open mic for the first time and just start shredding, basically. So I am curious though about that first experience of you first time going out.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to begin with kudos again to putting yourself out there. That just seems extremely nerve wracking to me, especially when like you're fine. You don't have to do that. But you're choosing to put yourself out there in a way that's just so nerve wracking. And um, being somebody that sometimes will do things like that also, very rarely. I know what it takes, which is why I think I can appreciate deeply your decision to do that. But my actual question, however, was in during those first, maybe that first and the first few experiences, um, would you say what was holding you back was the writing, which is, the quality of your jokes, or was it your delivery, or was it like a combination of both those things?
Yeah, yes, I think writing, because when we write a story, a long story, a novel, I think it is about, we are always in an expansive mindset, right? We
Hmm.
we adopt that expansive mindset that we need to write. If there is a chapter, then we try to hit every chord, right? But
Right.
it comes to writing comedy. I mean, there is a premise, and then you have to, then come up with punchlines, right?
I see.
Then
I
you
see.
need to tag further punchlines to get the desired effect, the outcome in terms of laughter. So yes, yes, I think initially, I think, yes, I struggled to. I would say I at times, I still struggle to do so, because jokes, you never know. I mean, you can think of, you might feel that, yes, it is funny, something that struck you, you crossed your mind, you thought, yes, this is funny, but people may or may not find funny. And then, of course, the audience, they differ, right? I mean, young the youngsters, they would like to hear something else. Group of senior citizens or married
Mm.
couples, they have their own taste. Okay. So I think in reading the audience, reading the listeners, what they can enjoy. So I think I would say, yes, it requires lot more dynamism, if you are delivering comedy, right? At times you have to, emerge as an actor, because you are,
Right. You
you
have
are
to
in.
do a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
a,
yeah.
be a character.
Yeah. So I think it's a farraggio of a lot of things. Yes. And yes, I think it has its own challenges, for sure.
I think the really interesting thing to me personally about this whole, comic thing, especially looking in from the outside, I don't know the first thing about, writing comedy. What I feel, and just as a general person that's curious about general things, the advice that I keep hearing from, screenwriters or even book writers, pretty much anybody that's creating art of any kind, there seems to be a consensus where people say that you should make art that you like to watch. So, for instance, the reason why, like, how do I pick any given episode on my podcast? The only thing I'm optimizing for is this something I would like to listen, and then I just make it, and then I hope that there are others like me that would also want to listen to it. So, I guess my question to you is, I know it's way trickier in comedy because humor, by definition, is just so subjective. Like you could hear a joke that would have you laughing for weeks, and I would not even have any reaction to that. That's a potential possibility. So, Is your approach then to optimize for things that you find funny, or are you? I know you hinted on that earlier, where you have to appeal to the audience, but and I know I'm rambling here, but when I think of the greats, and maybe you would disagree, but for me, one of the comics that I really like is Andrew Schulz. He has a show called Flagrant. He has like a sidekick or whatever, not sidekick, but another person, Akash Singh, that tours with him and all that. So the thing I like about him is his stuff or his jokes seems to be funny to everybody, you know. So how does one get there? I guess is my question.
I think yes. To be upfront, my disclaimer would be that I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, of course. That's why you're a guest on this podcast, because you're not an expert yet.
Immediately. So I think, but yes, what in I think I've been doing it for the last 4 5 months or 6 months. But I feel that yes, relatability is the key here, right?
Mm-hmm. I
So I think because you can touch upon any subject, you can touch upon others' lives. There are a gazillion of things where you can make make jokes out of. But then I think relatability is something which is the key, and that is where everybody connects with your jokes and they are giving you laughs. Okay. uh I think initially when I started, I would make it a bit intricate in terms of the content.
see.
I would think that yes, I have to create something which is out of the box, and you know not. But then I realized that, oh, I'm maybe at times I say some certain things that people you know find abstruse or hard to understand, which is of again, if they have to give a lot of time to understand things, then it's
Right.
again it is not really making sense. I think we need to make sure that what we deliver is relatable, and then of course I think that brighten the chances of generating humor. Yes, I think that's what I
Cool.
say.
Yeah. I like how actionable that is, with like, and you can simply optimize for, do I relate to this? And if you do, chances are, others might as well, at least in your age group and demographic. Though really, really like that call out. And
Yeah,
just in terms of housekeeping, I guess final question on this
yeah.
segment. How do you go about finding open mics? Is it just as simple as, you live somewhere, an Instagram ad pops up and you just show up, or is it more detailed than that?
I think first of all, open mics are a pretty again, places that can that require your courage to be at, because
True.
actually there are a lot of comedians, right? And so there is this competitiveness in the air, right? Where everybody is watching you, especially comics. They they are watching you because they are somewhere drawing that comparison.
Right.
If this guy on stage is delivering any better, right?
Mm.
So, and yes, I mean, because you're not doing a show, you're doing an open mic, you have actually paid for it, right? Right? I
Got
mean, there are like in our city, a lot of mics, they charge you if you want to come, and they give you a crowd of 10, 15, 20 people. Okay. So yes, I think open mics will require, you know, um, investment from your side, monetarily, time, of course.
sure.
I think you need to wait for a couple of hours to get your, turn to speak. So yes, this is. But I think overall, I think if somebody is fond of the grind, and if it is if that part is clear, that without grind, I mean, it's difficult to achieve anything, right? You need to
True.
just come out of your cocoon and comfort zone, and be yourself, and have the courage to still you know uh, walk out with a consolation that yes, even if you got no love, you still there, and
You put yourself out there. Yeah. Very
yeah.
true.
I think yeah, you need to have a thick skin. That's what matters in stand-up
Yeah.
comedy.
I mean, I think it by this time it has definitely been established that you, in fact, have a fairly thick skin, at least thicker than most people. You're just out here writing books and doing stand up and all that, all while obviously having your job, your main bill paying job on the side. So,
I
and
think that
then
that yeah. I think I'll take that. Yes, because that is about, that is about, a compliment that is not too exquisite, but at the same time it is, that yes, it's something which
Yeah,
is
I know.
sensible,
Like,
right? Yes,
it's just
yes,
something that I relate to nowadays. Ever
yes,
since at least I started my podcast, it's just not easy, man. There's only 24 hours in a day. You
correct.
know,
Yes,
you have a lot of stuff to do in
yeah,
that. Speaking
that's
of YouTube, I know Andrew Schulz, for example, blew up
mm,
on YouTube. Actually, that's where he got his biggest fame, and
yeah.
then he started doing shows and such. Is that something that you've considered? Maybe just commenting on things that go viral, kind of like a
Hmm.
commentary channel, and then you could layer in your own bits and jokes and stuff like that. Is that something you've thought about by chance?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll be very honest. If I try to get into something, the idea is to, cover lengths, and because, I have, I have learned one thing in life, that anything that is done, with a half-hearted approach, remains, or it produces lackluster,
Yeah,
results.
yeah,
So, just keeping aside certain things, of course, luck and those things are
of
there,
course.
but at the end of the day, I think hard work, being persistent, and when you're after something with all your heart and you're improving each day and you're willing to do it, that level of dedication and interest. So I think, yes, why not? I would, because that's the plan, that in coming days I will probably, throw my videos here and there, and
Uh-huh.
then let's see what's the reaction, and then, let's see where it goes. But yeah, I'll give my blood and sweat to it. That's how
Amazing.
that's how.
That's so, yeah, I'm very happy to hear that, especially because just in the day and age we live in, I think the leverage that the internet affords any person now is just something that has never existed in our entire history ever. The fact that you can click a button and have millions of people look at you and laugh at your jokes is just, it's still in many ways unreal to me. So to not use that almost feels like such a missed opportunity. So I'm glad that you're already considering that. And yeah, obviously happy to connect offline around any questions that you may have around YouTube, specifically thumbnail, etc. There's a
Yes,
lot
yes.
that goes into that, so happy to help with my very limited knowledge
Thank
on
you
that
so much.
front.
You've given me a possible source of, information and knowledge. I'm going to exploit that. Yes,
Yeah, and I'm actually even happy to share some of my favorite commentators.
great.
And these are just like funny guys, you can think of them.
Yeah,
Like they just sit, they'll look at stuff and they'll just be themselves while they react to it.
yeah,
And it's just that, yeah, it's not hard. They're just being themselves. And I feel like your personality would be endearing to a lot of people out there. So, yeah, we can continue this
definitely,
further offline,
definitely,
but
definitely. We
kind of
will.
jumping into the last segment here,
Yes,
which is your latest book, which you were just flashing,
yeah.
the sample copy. What can you tell us about that book? Is it still under the realm of nonfiction, or is it fiction, or a mixture of both?
This is purely nonfiction.
That's what I
In
thought.
Yeah, this is purely nonfiction, and in a I would, because majority of this book was written when I was in Indonesia and Thailand. I mean,
Mhm,
when I was working there.
mhm.
So, given the climate that we have there, given the, the tropical weather, right? This book happened. If I sort of imagine writing this sort of a book in a day-to-day life, I think it is, at least I cannot do that.
Huh.
So yes, certain things, certain factors contributed to getting those, getting those ideologies, thoughts, okay, that are rare about life, because writing this sort of a book, I was in a completely meditative state, I would say. Each time I,
Mhm,
took to writing this book, okay, I would go to the to my work, and then once I'm back, I'll just maybe, I spend a lot of time in cafes, I spend a lot of time in resorts, okay.
mhm.
Vacation weekends, I would go to a, some island, random island, and I would write for 4 or 5 days, okay. So
Wow.
that's how this book happened. And i mean I mean I think by the end of it, I was like, man, this is, I was totally perplexed at the outcome of just sticking to write something. If you've chosen that, yes, you have, this is the goal, to write a book, a non-fiction. So yes, I hope that this is going to reach people, and they will appreciate it. Yes.
I have no doubt. Are you willing at all to share
Yeah.
just a gist of what it's about and what one can expect
Yeah,
with the
I
book?
think. Yeah, I think people should expect a lot of practical lessons of life. And at the same time, I feel that the way we are all wired, and the way we are living our lives, it seems like we are disregarding a lot of things that are there, but that we cannot see. Our approach, how we should be living. Okay. And lot of, I don't know, I mean, a lot of life mysteries I could think of, that I spoke of in the book, that I could write about. Okay. I have even given a lot of anecdotal support to the book, to
Yeah,
make
sure.
it to make it more authentic, so that people who people, the readers, they get that, yes, there is a backstory behind things. Yes, so this is purely about life. And see, I wanted to write to encourage, I wanted to write to motivate. Okay. And feel motivated at the same time, right?
Yeah,
So I think this is going to be, I think, a motivational read for anyone.
amazing.
People who are in shambles, who see hope as a as a mirage or something ungettable. I think this can restore, or reinstate a lot of things.
So excited to finally get my hands on and
Okay.
give it a read. And just because you're in this, probably you're doing this right now or
Yeah.
have just finished doing this, what can you tell us about the launch itself of a book? So, and the publishing part, that entire thing feels like such a black box to me. I know there's ways to self-publish now, but can you share maybe, briefly how you went about, just stuff like publishing, designing the book cover? There's so much that it sounds like that must go into that. So, how does that all work?
I think that's the hardest part, frankly, publishing a book, because I mean, still you can write a book, and if you're dedicated, but publishing is something which, which is pretty complex, especially the kind of
Okay.
world we are living in.
Okay.
I was lucky that the first time, I got a traditional publisher, not a vanity publisher. So
Got
of
it.
course I didn't have to shell any penny, toward its
Oh, wow.
publication.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was,
That's cool.
right.
That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I had, again, that's something that happened, in favor. But
Mhm.
I think, again, the way we are moving, there are a lot of books that are coming down from people who are already established in different fields. Like, I mean, Sadhguru is writing a book. Then there is Gaur Gopal, who is writing a book. Business tycoons are writing their own books, right? So I mean, then your chance of to emerge as, unless you establish in your own field, as a
Mhm.
name, whatever you are doing apart from writing. So this is the fact of the matter. But
I see.
again, there is a slot for good work. I believe that there is a slot for good work always and at all times. Okay. And that is what keeps the hope alive for all of us. Okay. So yes, I think if you've written something, we live in a digital world, right? I mean, everything is like, we have the e-commerce sites, these Amazon, Flipkart. I think, yes, even if you are self-publishing, you still have readers, because you can still promote your book online and
True.
you get
True.
readers. Yes. So I think, yeah, I think when we are writing a book, we should not be very much concerned about the publishing section, because then it might discourage you, right,
Yeah,
right at the start. So yes, but I think that's the hardest part, and you should have some planning done. Okay. With regard to the same. Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense from an approach standpoint of view. But so, sorry, just to understand. So, if I have a book,
Yeah.
like written down, all the text is ready.
Yeah.
Would I just go? I know Amazon helps you self-publish.
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I'm trying to understand how I would do it. Like what's
Yeah.
the process exactly
So
like?
so I think the I'll break it down for you. We all are sort of mesmerized by these traditional publishers, Penguin,
Definitely. Yeah.
there are many,
Macmillan.
yeah,
Hmm.
Macmillan. So they have their email IDs available,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
but a response from them can be, you will have a slim chance to get a response out of them, because like I said, they are catering to the creamy layer, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
fortunately or unfortunately, let's be very blatant about it, okay. So yeah, but again, I mean, it makes sense to share your draft with them, and
Okay.
then I would say that do not wait for like a year or so waiting for their response, because then you know like I said, they have lakhs of drafts coming to their
Yeah.
inbox, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yes, having, if you have applied, now you can do, you can launch yourself, okay. There are independent designers, there are independent
Okay.
uh, players in the market who will do the designing at a minimal cost. They do your cover designing, they will do your formatting, okay.
Mhm.
Also, editorial services are everywhere, okay. So that
I
way,
see.
I mean, you can almost get your hard copies, paperback, in your hand in almost 10 days, or
Oh
15 days,
wow.
once you've
Huh.
completed writing.
That's
So
cool.
just see, I mean, the first book that I wrote, it took a year before it was launched, because I went with a traditional publisher, right? So I had to wait a year because they had scheduled my launch after a year, right?
Okay.
And
Hmm.
this book, we are still in talks with publisher, and I thought that, okay, let's get the book rolling, and I'll
Hmm.
start selling it online, and then later, whenever I get a traditional publisher, I mean, we always have that opportunity open to use. Yes.
I
Yeah.
see. That's
Yeah.
super helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes much more
Right.
sense now.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then you would just be, yeah, just be Googling around your area, maybe editors and or book designers and all that,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like they usually come under the same umbrella, and you
Yeah.
can just pick and choose the exact services that you want. So that makes sense. And I guess the last thing here before I let you go is
Yes, please.
um another thing that I've never personally understood is I know editing a book is really important. Obviously, no points for guessing that.
Yeah.
But does it have to be another person that edits for you, or can an author edit their own book? What's the ground reality around
Yeah.
that?
So I think, Naman, that's a very good question, because yes, editing is something which is very critical. But I mean, if I talk about my first book, the publisher made me edit my own book at least 10 times before it was, before it rolled out. Okay,
Okay.
so at least 10 times, back and forth. It was really, I mean, painful. I mean, at times you start, doubting yourself, right? I mean,
Right, yeah. It's
why
supposed to be
should I?
my book.
Yeah,
Why am
I
I
mean,
being asked to edit it
yeah,
10
I mean, there has
times?
to be an editor for me, right? So yes, there was an editor for the book, for my first book, but again, I think she just maybe fine tuned it, than then actually make any structural changes or something.
Mhm.
Yes, so that is one approach. Like I told you that, yes, I mean, if you are reading, but it's always an, if you are self-publishing, I think spending on, because editors, they come heavy on your pockets, to be
I
honest,
see.
okay.
I see.
Because they are steamed, especially if you're going for steamed, renowned publishers in the industry,
Mhm.
editors in the industry, yes. So I think there can be an alternate approach, wherein, if you've written a book or any piece of writing, you can
Mhm.
get some of your friends to read the book,
Mhm.
okay. I
Mhm.
mean, who you feel that can come handy and give you
Good feedback. Yeah.
where you can make changes in, what better you can do, right? So I think that is one way wherein you can get the feedback, and then accordingly you can execute in terms of editing it, because you are the writer, so I mean, you have been the ship on the captain till now. So from here on, of course, you can still steer your way, right, to that final draft, which is just ready to go into the print.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I might be, eventually, maybe a few years from now, if I have a draft ready ever, I might bug you around this
Yes.
specific process for just proofreading
Always,
slash
definitely. Always there.
editing for me.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Rohan, it's been such an amazing time, honestly, just learning from your experiences and just the depths of your, I don't want to say expertise because it's not
Just
exactly that, but it is
yeah.
kind of your expertise because you've been doing this for such a long time now.
Yeah.
But it really shows, like, how driven you are about this and how much you just enjoy it. So thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us and for teaching me probably the coolest word I've learned in a while, which was Ferragio, I think you said.
Farajo. Yes. Farajo. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Just a mixture of things. Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Got it.
I was like,
Yeah.
that is definitely, yeah, I don't know if you have a process for like, vocabulary capturing, but I like to write cool words that I find down just so I
Great.
can keep
Great.
coming back to them.
And that's how
And
we
then
should
I'll
be.
start
Keep learning.
slipping
Yes.
them into, everyday conversation.
Great. 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 Makes sense. 100%. Yes.
But
Great.
yeah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time
Yeah.
here today.
Thank you so much, Naman, for speaking and organizing this in such an impeccable manner. Okay, totally loved it, and all the best to what you're doing. And I'm sure it is going to go miles for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of episode 36 of the Ready Set Do podcast. Thank you all for sharing these conversations with those that continue to benefit from them. If you would like to support me, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing to the YouTube channel and leaving me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. Catch you all in the next one. New episodes every Wednesday.